Hey, hey, good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Nettie Estes, and I want to welcome you to another Tilt Hangout where we bring you value and motivation every week and help you with what you need to know in order to be successful in whatever it is that you want to achieve. And tonight, of course, isn't going to be anything different. If you are new to our Hangouts, please say hi in the chat roll and also write down any comments that you want to say below. And if there is something that you would like for us to, talk about or go over or discuss or whatever, please write it down there. We would be glad to talk about that because we love doing these Hangouts. They're all for you, the dreamer, the doer, and the entrepreneur. So I'm really excited about tonight, and the topic is leadership versus lemmingship. Now, for you that out there that may not quite understand or not know what lemmingship is or what a lemming is someone that follows other people, and they don't question that. They just do it. They just follow it. It's like following mice off a cliff or a sheep off a cliff. That's what they do. They don't question why they're doing that. So it's about leadership versus lemmingship. So I thought I would take those two words, but I want to talk about another two words too. So tonight I'm going to speak to you about two very, very, very bad words. Now, they're not racist words, or they're not sexist, or they're not chauvinistic words, and you can use them in your workplace. You can use them at your family dinners, like Easter yesterday, which, by the way, I hope everyone had a wonderful one. You can use them anywhere you want, but they are two very, very bad words. And the two words are realistic and unrealistic. Two words that drive me crazy, and they drive me crazy because they have definitions for so many different people watching this hangout and for people all around the world, actually, and yet people use them with such authority. That's not realistic. That's very unrealistic, and they feel like they have the authority to be able to use these words. But what really is realistic, right? Let's use any category that we want. And for example, tonight the category I'm going to use is age. What is a realistic age to do certain things in your life? Now, I think about people like Martin Luther King. He was a guy who he had the I dream the I dreams I have a dream speech, the mountaintop speech. He had done marches, he had done protests, he had gone to jail. And he did all of that, and then he died. And you know what? He died when he was 38. He did all of that before. Or do you think about people that are in their 90s and they're out there running marathons? People would say, that's an unrealistic age, and yet they do it. Do you know what the average age was when NASA put a man on the moon for the very first time? The average age of the person working at NASA was 26 at the time. So what is realistic and what is unrealistic? And this is something that I want to talk to you about today because I think people use it with authority and they shouldn't be allowed to. I think that people that use that word should have to qualify it or quantify it exactly what it is that they are going to say. They should say, you know what that is that you're doing, that's an unrealistic thing to do. And the reason I know that it is because I've tried it 100 times myself, and in every case I tried it different ways, and it never worked once. So I know, okay? Now that is qualifying something as opposed to you shouldn't do that, and yes, I recognize I've never done it myself, and I understand that I don't know anybody else who's ever done it themselves, but I am assessing third-party information right now to make this unauthoritative decision. Yet I know that it's unrealistic and you should not do that. I see this everywhere I go, and it bothers me because people are listening, right? And the people are the ones I talk to every single day. And quite frankly, the ones that are listening to this advice, they're quite depressed. They are not happy with their lives. These are individuals who are giving us the finger when we have taken that parking spot that they so righteously think that it was theirs. Those are the ones that listen to bad advice. So today, what I want to do is I want to change that. I want to stop this process of people listening to unrealistic advice when they should be doing the thing that is realistic to themselves. I want to kind of create a bit more fairness in this category. And by the way, yes, I do know that there are certain things that are unrealistic. Like, I get that. It's probably improbable that I'm going to win the Miss USA beauty contest this year. I understand that. However, I'm talking about all the other things that people won't allow themselves to do because of the definitions that they have in their head. So, to get this going, I want to ask you a few questions, and I want you to just answer these questions in your head, okay? So the first question is, if you had some sort of a degree or a diploma or experience with business and finance, what would you say in your mind is a realistic occupation you could have? Now, right now, you're likely thinking finance, accounting, marketing strategies, which are all good answers. How many of you thought writing blogs to inspire and motivate others? Probably nobody, right? Okay, so the second question is, let's say you did start to write blogs to motivate and inspire other people, and after doing that for a long time, you now wanted to take it to the next level, and you wanted to share your motivation and inspiration to hundreds of people. That was something that you'd been thinking about. Now, if you wanted to bring your words to others, what would be the most realistic way of doing this? Maybe write a book, maybe do meetups with groups. How many of you were thinking that going live in front of a camera when you have had no experience talking live to others? Probably nobody, right? Okay, so the third and last question. So, you have written your inspiration and your motivational blogs. You have brought your words to hundreds of people by doing live weekly hangouts, and you want to step your game up even further. Now, you want thousands of people to hear your words. What would be a realistic way to do this? Instead of having just one blog, maybe have 3? Do more hangouts? How many of you were thinking being live on a stage at a major company event? I'm guessing most of you weren't, because most people don't think this way or think about these type of things. And that is where my story begins, because a couple of years ago, when I was 63 years old, I read my first self-development book. And it was a book that I would never have assumed that I would have read. But I did read this book, and it started telling stories about people who had done unrealistic things with their lives. And for the very first time in my life, I was inspired. And I thought, hold on. I thought there were certain rules that we had to live by. And I didn't know that I could go out there and do fantastic, unrealistic things with my own life. Up until the point in my life where I read that self-development book, I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I thought there were rules. And after reading this book, I thought, there are no rules. I can go out there and I can do things that are supposedly unrealistic. And that was when I decided, even though I had a great high-paying job, I was going to start a business. And that is what I did. I started writing blogs. Inspiration and motivation and sometimes training blogs for people. And as I had written those blogs, I was trying to get them out there, and it wasn't all that easy to market it at first. People would read them, and eventually someone signed up under me and became part of my team. And one thing led to another, and eventually I talked to a couple of my teammates to start weekly hangouts. You have to understand that you are listening and looking at someone who was terrified to get in front of a camera and talk. But I took a big bite of the apple, computer, ha ha, and I said to myself, Google Hangout, you and I are about to become my best friend, and let's do this. So as for the onstage to speak to thousands of people, that hasn't happened yet, but I know it will. It's not if, it's when. And I will continue to do what I am doing until, because that is how long it will take. Now, I give you these stories because I want to give you an example that in life, and that is where I learned, whatever we think we can or we cannot do, anything that we think is unrealistic or unrealistic is just based upon a concept that we have in our mind, and what's beautiful is that we get to change the concept whenever we want. You see, once you get it once, just once it happens one time in your life, then all of a sudden, every single time you come up against an obstacle that you think it's going to be unrealistic, you can't help but remember all the times you did make it happen in times that were similar to the one you're facing right now. So many times through this journey, people told me, I'm not sure that is realistic, but after coming this far, nothing seems unrealistic to me. And I can tell you right now that I know certain people watching this have certain ideas about what it is that they want to accomplish in their life, and all I want you to know is that what you think that is going to be based on what you have been taught. And the beautiful concept, again, of that is that you get to change it right now if you want. And the second you change it is the second you'll start going after things and doing things that you never, ever imagined were possible. And when you accomplish those things, it will be the greatest feeling you will ever have. Now, by the way, as you go after these things in life, you will feel uncomfortable, no question. It will feel foreign, but that's okay. You'll get used to that. And this is what I encourage all of you to remember, is that as you sit there right now, and what you think is and is not realistic, it's just an idea. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, fine, where do I start? And I always say the same thing when people ask me that question, start anywhere, because anywhere is a place, and anywhere will lead you to everywhere. And I can tell you that it's not just geographical places, it's also places within your mind and in your heart and within your soul. And as you go through those places, you will realize that rules are just shackles that people place on things that they don't understand. So you have to let yourself know whether or not you are going to let those rules apply to you. But I can tell you, as somebody who has pushed those limits, it is so well worth to do the things that are unrealistic. You would be an idiot to think that there wasn't something beautiful going on behind this thing called life. And an even bigger idiot to stand up and say that you know what it is. And to me, there are so many individuals in this world who are standing up and they are saying, I figured out life. I've got it all figured out. And here's what it is, and this is how you should do it. And I think to myself, that's a really interesting thing, because none of us have figured life out. But I will say this, that one thing I do believe in is there is something beautiful behind this thing called life, and that we owe it to ourselves at the very least to do everything in our power to try and discover what that thing is. And the only way we will ever discover it is by being unrealistic. Every single one of us here tonight has a destiny. We have something that we are supposed to do, and whether we do it or not really comes down to a decision whether or not we will allow ourselves to do it. So I hope I've explained realistic and unrealistic, and you guys all understood it, and I'm ready to pass the baton now on to Morgan. Unmute.
Wow, Nettie, that was incredible. I'm sorry I was late. The daylight savings got me snapped out. Erica had to message me, so sorry about that. I wanted to talk today about
You know what, Morgan?
mums and
I got to tell you something. I didn't understand one word you just said with your Kiwi
oh,
accent. You did you
I'll
say you
slow
did it
down, shall
again?
I? I just said that I just about missed the hangout because of daylight savings in New Zealand.
Oh, right. Okay, okay, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
I thought that it was going to be 1 p.m., but it wasn't. So here I am. I wanted to talk today about mums and business because I'm a mum. That's sort of my area, and I belong to a couple of entrepreneurial groups on Facebook that are not related to this, this online world. So they make, bibs. It's like little crafty businesses, really. Mums at home just making sewing, different services, different things like that. And the one thing I've noticed about people in small home business like that, is they don't have the personal development aspect behind them like we do in our business. The comments that, and I'm not saying this to put anybody down, and I don't even know if any of them will be watching this, but I think it's so important when talking about leadership versus Lemmingship, to include the personal development aspect, because I think leadership comes from self-confidence. It comes from being practiced and becoming an expert in your field, but it starts with the self-confidence that you can do it. And I've just noticed recently in this group that people ask for support in the group, and that's all good, but the questions that they're asking are questions that show that they need to work on the personal development aspect of themselves, their self-confidence, because if they had that self-confidence within themselves, they wouldn't be criticizing themselves and saying, I don't think these bibs are worth $10, or that kind of thing. And those are the kind of comments that show me that personal development and working on yourself every single day to build up your own self-confidence in what you're doing, whether that be selling bibs or making soft toys or selling online products. You need to believe in yourself to the point that what you're giving out and your products is worthy because you've made it and you believe in what you're doing. So I just wanted to start by basically just saying that personal development is just so super important, and to see these mums spending hours and hours of their their time, their precious time away from their children, crafting this beautiful pillow or soft toy to sell it for $15, and then to doubt whether or not it's worth that, and is somebody going to buy that, and is are the competition out there, the people that sell at the warehouse and farmers and things like that, are they going to swoop in, and are people going to go to them over the home-based business type situation? It just makes me feel so privileged to be doing what I am doing and what we are all doing, because we really have an edge, I think, in this business, because it does come down to leadership. And without, whether you are in a home-based business selling your own products, or you are in a network marketing business, or you're doing online marketing selling other people's products, you need the leadership aspect. Whether you're leading a team or not, if you don't have that leadership aspect, people aren't going to buy products that you don't think are worth $15. It's just not gonna happen. So you need to build up that confidence. And I think everybody watching this webinar, and you ladies on the panel, we are just so lucky to have built into the system that we're using a personal development aspect, and it's not just an aspect, but it's a necessity of our business to be up to play with the personal development. It's almost like you can't really be part of the business if you're not up to play with the personal development side of it. And I think pushing that personal development side it's what's going to make us successful. It's what's making us successful. And I think if people in small businesses making crafty type things had this personal development aspect, they wouldn't be writing the comments I'm seeing, and they would be feeling more confident in themselves, happier, enjoying what they're doing, not worried about spending money on this material because it's not going to bring in this money, and things like that. So yeah, so personal development. So if you're in, the community that we're in, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, things like, reading, reading personal development books. Have I frozen? Looks like my screen's frozen. If it has, somebody can tell me. I'm good. Okay.
No, you're good.
So reading, reading personal development books. If you read, one leadership book a month on how to be a leader, on how to, believe in yourself, be self-confident, help other people, it's going to create just a spiral effect of, your happiness is just going to increase. You're going to be more, more into what you're doing, being able to help people, and that is just so important if you want to be successful. Listening to daily audios. I mean, we're lucky that we have, an inner circle audio where you can sort of plug in and listen to seven-figure earners share, success stories and, methods and just mindset training. Doing that on a daily basis is just, really, really important as well to build up that self-confidence so that you can become, the leader that you really need to be in business. I think when you're a mum and you are deciding to start a business, it's really, really scary because a lot of weight is on your shoulders. And I felt this myself. I was a lawyer, so coming from, a good professional background, having trained and, having been able to bring income into the house regularly, and then just to say to my husband, well, sorry, I'm not going back to work. Just being able to say that to him, and he's kind of like, what do you mean? You have to make that decision that you're going to pursue something, and without the leadership inside myself that I've gained from the personal development through both this business and just personal development that I've worked on for many years, because I'm quite passionate about personal development, I wouldn't have been able to make that decision. I would have probably made the decision like, okay, I will try this out, and if it doesn't work in 6 months, I will go back to work part-time and I'll keep trying, but, if it doesn't work in a year, then I'll give up. If that was the case, I wouldn't be on this panel right now, and I wouldn't have the freedom I have right now, and I wouldn't have the, how do I describe it? I wake up with just this joy knowing that my day isn't structured, knowing that my day isn't, get up, get the kids ready for school, for daycare, drop them off, get straight to work, pick them up. I don't have that, that pain that so many mothers have. I don't have to go through that. And to just be able to wake up on a Monday morning and lie in bed and have my babies, lying on top of me, it's just an absolutely incredible feeling. And if I hadn't found this business, if I hadn't been into personal development, I wouldn't have made these decisions that have ultimately led to, I am a lawyer, but I'm not planning on going back to law, and that's something I don't really say very often, and a lot of people that I have worked, in the legal world with won't actually know that I'm not planning on going back to law, because it's just not something you tell other lawyers. They don't really get it. But it's a decision I've made, and I'm in this 100%, and I believe in, what we're doing, and it's changing my life. So leadership versus lemmings, you just have to dig into the personal development. It all comes from the inside out, and once you have that inside confidence, you're not going to question yourself. You're going to make decisions and go, straight forward and get the results you desire. I better stop there. I have probably taken up too much time.
Oh, no, you can never take up too much time. Don't even think that way, Morgan.
But I'll pass it over to Becky.
I was fortunate enough to be a stay-home mom too, and I remember saying to my husband at the time, after the kids were all back in school and everything, and I remember saying, think if I had worked, the money that we would have had, and he said, oh, don't even think that way, and it's true. You can never replace those memories, so good for you. I'm glad you're staying. You found something, and you're helping the rest of the world, and you're able to stay at home too. And I think she's gone. So I hope it wasn't anything I said. Okay, Shirley May, how about you step up and talk to us for a while here?
Thanks, Nettie. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame Morgan had to leave us. I was going to tease her a little bit that she stole my part. It's so funny, I think, when we get on these hangouts because we never discuss, what, each individual person is going to say. And somehow we always manage to, say something unique, I think. And yeah, so I just kind of want to add to what Morgan said. I really, really feel strongly on um, I've heard this quote one time, and it falls so much in line with what she, talking about with personal growth, and that is that your income follows your personal growth, meaning your personal growth comes first. Your income follows it. Your income comes after it, and the level of personal growth that you achieve is also the level your income will also rise up to that same level. So really, instead of worrying and stressing about making money or why you're not making money, why not focus your attention on personal growth? Because that's one guarantee that you can have about making money, that you can guarantee if you work on you that the income will follow. That's one guarantee that we can make to you, okay? So a couple of things I wanted to talk about, the whole Lemmingship thing, if I'm saying it right. I used to be, if you've followed our hangouts before, you know that I grew up Amish. And I just want to say that, growing up in a certain world, in a circumstance, you feel, like Nettie said, that this is what is realistic. This is what is true, because it's all around you. It's all you can see. And it's really hard when you're living in that world to open up your mind and think that other things are possible. I know because I've been there. I've been there twice in my life, but I'm just going to talk about the one time when I was Amish, because it was literally a different world. And the thing is, there's always going to be two voices in your head. There's going to be the voice of reason, and there's going to be the voice of imagination and of curiosity and of wanting to explore and wanting to, it's in all of us, right? And, the sad thing is that when we grow up and we become adults, the voice of reason kind of takes over because it has to. We think it has to. But we don't know, we don't understand that on the other side, if we listen to the voice of imagination and curiosity and openness and all that, the other side of that is everything our hearts desires, if that makes sense. Like, who would ever dream that you can earn an income from your laptop in any exotic place in the world and you can live your dream life? Well, so many people are doing that through their hard work. And I mean, results are not typical. They do, work hard and all that. But the thing is that when you decide to listen to the voice of reason, you will have evidence supporting that you need to be a reasonable person and you need to be realistic. However, if you listen to the other voice, which is the voice of curiosity and openness and all that, and you're wanderlust, you will also find evidence of people living their dreams. It's so crazy. And I believe that when I was in the world of, my Amish world, and everybody around me was, doing the same thing. In fact, you would actually get punished by the church if you even wore your cap, if you wore your dress like a tiny bit differently. If the hem on your freaking dress was like an inch too long, you got in trouble. I could go on and on about the rules that were made to keep us, stuck. And by some grace of God, I was an only child, and so I needed to entertain myself. I read tons of books, and I believe that is what gave me the thirst to educate myself and go out in the world and see that there are other options. There's other ways of living that are okay, that I can do. And so that's kind of what I wanted to add on the Lemmingship, still can't say it right. Part of it is that, you're going to see what you choose to see, right? And the question that I have for you guys on the leadership part of it is how can you be expected to be a leader if you cannot lead yourself? This is a question that was asked of me a long time ago, and because I always thought leadership was some, puffed up, egotistical thing that you can order people around and you're the leader and you're the top, and it really isn't. I discovered that if you cannot lead yourself, if you cannot become a person and master your own self-control, you literally have no right to lead other people. If you can't help yourself, if you can't overcome your own challenges, what right do you have trying to be a leader, trying to be in a place of helping people? So that is another thing. If you're, wanting to be a leader, what you can focus on is first leading your own life, mastering your own life. And on this topic, I used to run away from resistance because I would get so frustrated that whenever I would try to lead myself, I would always fail, right? And I stayed so far away from anything that could potentially give me resistance so that I wouldn't have to deal with the crushing disappointment of falling short again and, not being able to control my anything in my life, right? Whether I wanted to get up early, whether I wanted to work on my business, whether I wanted to lose weight, all that stuff. And you can get to a place where you really fear resistance. You can fear resistance more than the actual thing that you're resisting. Did you know that? You can, and it's a habit. And the thing is that when you catch on that that's happening in your head, you're gonna feel your life going by, and you're gonna feel that your life is going by and you're not truly living it, and that you're so all up in your head, you're not really enjoying your life, right? So that's the thing. How did I get from being in that place of downward spiraling out of control every time I have resistance to where I am now, waking up every morning with joy. And I know exactly how Morgan feels. I mean, I don't have kids, but the peace that she feels when she gets up in the morning and she's laying there and she's so excited to start her day, I know what that peace feels like. I have that same peace. And how did I get from there to here? Well, two things, right? I realized that when mastering your self-control and becoming a better leader of yourself, that number one, you have a choice. Like I said earlier, you can choose to find reasons to be realistic and listen to your excuses, or you can also find evidence to, like Nettie said, just stretch your comfort zone. Go to the very edge of your fear and then just go a little bit farther. Increase your tolerance to fear. Increase your tolerance to change, right? Or you can just choose to just be scared of resistance all the time and not want to lead yourself and not want to be a better person. The second thing is that some of the reasons why we flee resistance is because we want to be in control of every situation at all times, and we throw temper tantrums when things don't go our way, right? But the mark of a true leader is giving up control and realizing that if you cannot change the situation or the circumstance, you can change the way you look at the circumstance. You can change what happens to you. You can change how you react to what happens. And I would say that when you can do that, you give up control and you just take action, know that even if you take action and you make mistakes, it's still going to be way better than if you just sat back, didn't take action, and you were scared, and you just gave into your fear and into the resistance, right? So two things. Again, number one is choice. You have a choice, what voice in your head you want to listen to, and two, resistance will literally fade away from you when you give up control and you just take action. Remember, we've talked about it a few weeks ago. You are not the message, you are simply the messenger. And another mark of a true leader is that they don't involve their ego in spreading their message because they want to help people. So when you take your ego out of the way and you focus on your value and how you can help people and not care how messed up it comes out of your mouth, know that you can, make whatever mistake you've made, you can clean it up. Just know that leadership is a process, and you cannot wake up one day and be this perfect leader. You just start right now being the best that you can be and trusting that the process will evolve you into who you're meant to be. So I'm going to stop with that and hand it back over to Nettie. I am so glad, first of all, that you guys all here tonight. It means so much for us to see your smiling faces in the chat roll and just to meet with you. So if you have any questions, hopefully we'll have time at the end to answer them, and I can't wait to hear from you.
Well done, Miss Shirley. Like I say every week, you are light years, eons ahead of your age, and it shows when you speak. I mean, some of the messages in the chat roll, are just such a blessing to you that you're able to speak and even keep these old fogies wise with your words. Thank you very much. Kristen, would you like to talk to us, please?
I would love to, and I'm going to follow up with Shirley's wise, very wise. She always amazes me, so I'm going to go the opposite direction and tell you the most random story. When I saw the topic for tonight, I have never heard the term Lemmingship. So what do? You Google. So I'm like Googling lemmings, and I'm like, what the freak does like little rodents have to do with leadership? Like, I was so confused. So here I am earlier today on Wikipedia, like trying to figure out like what does this, I mean, I kind of got it. So anyways, so interesting story. I did a little bit more research, and I do realize that this is a term that I believe was used in a book, so I'm not sure exactly how this came to be, Nettie, or where you heard it from, but so these little rodents, if you don't know, supposedly they were documented like running off of a cliff together. But here's the thing. There's some speculation that the people recording them, they actually didn't run off willingly. They were pushed off. And so it doesn't really change the fact that, A, they fell off, and B, it's the same thing in the world. Because whether or not, if you choose not to stand up and be a leader, so even if you're not following the person off the cliff, if you don't stand up and be a leader, the world will push you off the cliff. And so it doesn't matter if these little rodent things were pushed or if they jumped. They still met their demise? Yes, demise, because they didn't stand up and be leaders. And so anyways, a little lesson, because I had no idea what that term meant until I love Wikipedia. A little clue for anyone who thinks they're newbies online. For people who actually do it, Google. I tell my mom this all the time. Go to Google. If you don't know an answer, Google. Google is the answer to life. So actually, let's go back to leadership. I'm done rambling. So leadership, and because I believe that everyone watching this, you've already made the choice not to be a lemming and not to do lemmingship, that you have decided to be a leader, you've decided to take control over your life, you've made that decision, and it's so simple to actually be a leader. It's just you have to get there first. And I'm not going to speak too much on it because Paige talked a lot about it, and that's in the personal development. Going back probably almost 4 years ago now, when I actually got online, I'll admit I was a little rodent following people. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going. I was completely new, but it's not even that I didn't have dreams, I didn't have whatever. I didn't have confidence. I didn't have that personal development in the beginning. I had no idea that I could be a leader. I had no idea that that was even a possibility, and even more than that, I didn't know that that's what I needed to be. I had some idea in my head that I was going to be able to get everything I wanted without having to actually step up and be that leader. And so personal development is everything. It's building that confidence for you to be able to actually see who you're following. Because part of being a leader is following. You have to follow somebody who is farther along in their journey. Because what is a leader? A leader is just somebody who has learned how to be a leader from somebody else. The problem comes when you aren't developing yourself and you don't have confidence, you end up following the wrong people. And that's what happened to me for a very long time. I didn't have the confidence for me to say, this is who I am, this is where I'm going. Instead, I looked at everybody as being better than me. So I kind of put blinders on, and I saw people not with, you know, we're all imperfect. No one's perfect or anything, but I failed to see that the lack in the people I was following, I guess, and how their vision and their dreams did not align with what I needed from life and where I wanted to go. And it wasn't until I made the decision to stand up on my own and stop following that I even realized I'd been following the wrong people to begin with. And then you start aligning yourself with the people who you do need to be led by. And to me, that is being a good leader. Being a good leader is, who are you following? Because you will always be following somebody. But it's also changing that mindset from you're not following them necessarily. And life challenges or whatever, like obstacles really is probably what they've had more of. So they're just a little bit farther along. But it's key to follow people, but also understand that you are at an equal playing field. And so really quickly, I had this quote that I wanted to go into, and then I actually have a few little bullet points that I wanted to share. Most of these coming from the book by Brian Tracy, No Excuses. He shared this quote really quick. Peter Drucker actually said this. There may be natural-born leaders, but there are so few of them that they make no difference in the great scheme of things. So to me, that's like the best news ever, which is all these leaders that you see and you think, oh my gosh, they were born that way. No, they weren't. Isn't there a song like Lady Gaga saying, I was born this way? Leaders weren't born that way. They learned how to be that way. And that's the best news for all of us, because it means that we all are capable of being whoever it is that we want to be. We have the capabilities of being any type of leader that we want to be. And what is the biggest thing about being a leader? It's simply having a vision. It's having a vision and knowing where you're going to go. Because once you have a vision and you focus on that and you know where you're going and you take action, people automatically follow. That's all it is being a leader. All it is standing up and saying, this is where I'm going. You either go with me or I'm going on my own. And right there you've become a leader. And so that's the biggest thing. And then the other thing that Brian Tracy says in his book about leadership is you become a leader when you accept responsibility for results. When you stop blaming people around you, blaming other things, but you begin to accept responsibility not only for your results, but the results of your team, the results of your followers, the results of people around you, and for the results of the people that you're feeding value to. Once you take responsibility for that, that's another step in becoming a leader. So if you need more proof on how simple it really is to just stand up and be a leader, because we all are, we just have to learn how to be. He ran through 7 values or principles, and I'm just going to read them to you because a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. And as I was reading these, I remember when I read this book, I thought, man, you know, we sit here and we tell ourselves lies. We tell ourselves that we don't have what it takes, that, you know, we're not good enough, and we just tell ourselves all this BS, when really what it comes down to, the characteristics that a leader has, I guarantee you, when I read this list off, you're like, oh, yeah, I got that. I got it. So you have this. All right, number 1, clarity. You have to have clarity of where you're going. Do you have a vision and do you know where you're going? If the answer is yes, well, you've gotten step number 1 done. Number 2, competence. Even if you're not smart, if you can Google, then you're smart. Then you have competence, okay? That's all it takes, is knowing how to type in Google and type in your question and figuring out how to solve a problem. Commitment. Are you committed to where you're going? Are you committed to your goals? Are you committed to your vision? Are you committed to making your business the best business that's going to be out there? If you're committed, you're a leader. Constraints. it's a negative, but constraints in the idea that you are able to actually look at your business and look at who you're leading and see the constraints, see the problems, and solve them, and have the capabilities of actually overcoming the obstacles. Creativity. You know, a lot of us, I've always said my whole entire life that I'm not a really creative person, because I thought in order to be creative, you had to either be good at art or drawing or writing, and those are things I never said I was good at. But creativity can mean so many different things. So I guarantee you, you're creative. Continuous learning. That's exactly what Paige was talking about with the personal development. We've all heard it before. Leaders are readers. Leaders become leaders by learning from other people, by developing and by exposing themselves to better people. And so continuous learning. Consistency. And I will be the first to admit that this is the one thing I struggled with for a very long time, and that's the consistency, because the only thing I was consistent at in the beginning was, like Shirley talked about, was that habit of resistance, of like hating resistance, but yet loving resistance and giving into it. And it does. It becomes a habit. So I became very consistent in that until I kicked it in the butt. And so those are the 7. That's all it takes to be a leader. And I guarantee you that you have all those 7 principles in your life already. It might just be a little dialing in and focusing a little bit more on one, and maybe it just means that you have to pick up that book and read a little bit more, or meditate. Take 20 minutes to meditate and let your creative spirit go. Whatever it takes, but you have it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I already know that you are on this hangout because you are a leader. Lemmings, I guarantee you, we don't attract lemmings here in this Tilt group. So we don't attract them, so I know that you're not one. You're our leader. So I know all of us have had to learn to just step up and do it, and that's all it is. It's just stepping into your vision and knowing where you're going. So with that, I'll pass it back to Nettie.
Oh, I love that. What you just finished up with is just stepping into your vision and knowing where you're going. You just narrowed this whole hour right down to one sentence there, because that's absolutely the truth. I mean, talking about, you did a great job of exemplifying what it is to be a leader and how easy it can be and how it's inside of all of us to do that. So great work. Now, on the note of lemmings, like yeah, it did come from little rodents, but I mean, it also means that you're a follower. So we didn't want to call everybody out there. They were rats. But anyways, Miss E, guess what? This week we have lots of time to hear from you. So take it away. The whole audience is waiting for these words from you. So
thank you. It's really funny. So yeah, finally I get some airtime, which I love. I don't care whether I have 30 seconds, to deliver a punch, or I've got like 15 minutes. But it's really funny that the night where I do have some time to talk, all of my hot points have been hit. So whilst I was listening to all of you share such just incredible pearls of wisdom, because you nailed it. Leadership is about vision. I was thinking, so what am I going to talk about? So I'm actually going to talk about something that disturbs me about this industry. And I think when I share this with you, it will enable you to understand how important it is that you do not be a lemming. Now, as you guys know, I was in network marketing for about 30 minutes before I decided that traditional offline network marketing is not my thing. I'm just, I came from a really small town in Napier. When I started heading up the guy at Vodafone, for my travel business, my husband kind of dug me in the ribs and said, darling, this is not for us. We came online, okay? So I knew nothing about this industry, like just completely new. And I had my first experience of Lemmingship about 60 days in, when some leaders decided they weren't going to do one thing anymore. They were going to go and do something else, and all of these little lemmings were supposed to follow them. And I'm like, so what? Where are they going? Like they said that this is the vision, this is what we're doing, and this is the thing that is going to get everyone to where they want to be in life. Oh, but now we're changing our story and we're going to go over there, okay? And all you little lemmings are going to come and follow me. And I looked at this, and it was my first experience
of just how devastating that can be. And I had to make a decision to follow or to plant my flag and say, I ain't going nowhere, and be the leader that I didn't have around me at that time. And I think Shirley was one that kind of nailed this as well. You know, one of the things about being a leader is asking yourself, am I the type of person I would want to follow? Okay, and if you're not, then as you know, Paige now that you just get into those books, and Kristen or sorry, as Morgan mentioned, I beg your pardon, you got to get into personal development, and of course, as Kristen mentioned, she's giving you the 7 bullet points to hit on that. And I always remember at one event, one of our top leaders said, some people, you're upset because your sponsor's not doing this and your sponsor's doing that, and she goes, excuse my French, she goes, screw your sponsor. Stand up and be the leader that you need to be. And those words really hit me in my face. Like, to be a leader, sometimes you don't need to follow. You just need to plant your flag in the ground and speak your vision and just stay focused on where you want to go. And if you do want to, kind of emulate and follow someone who has the same vision as you. Like in our company, we have one guy right at the top who has this almighty powerful vision that all leaders within the community have plugged into. And they are sticking with that one vision until, someone already mentioned until, and it's so powerful. One of the things I notice in this industry is that loyalty is a really low-valued commodity when there is something dangling somewhere else. And you guys have seen it. Let me know in the chat room if you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. Something bright and shiny comes along. It's like, oh my God, we've got to go over here, right? That's not cool. That's not cool. When people do that, what they are doing is they are challenging you and your vision. When they distract you from what you're doing, that's not leadership. That's another word, and I don't even want to say it out loud. It's not cool. Okay? So this whole concept of leadership versus lemmingship, in order to never be a lemming, you need to plant your flag, and you need to state your vision, and you need to speak with your authentic voice. And authenticity really bugs me in this industry because I find a lot of people are afraid to dig deep and allow that authenticity out. And there's a lot of fakeness out there, and we're all trying to, some people are, they haven't harnessed their true authentic power, therefore they're just coming out as these cardboard cutout characters of themselves. Your best version of yourself is that person, someone mentioned it, who has no ego, who is just prepared to stand up for what they believe in and just never change, and just keep heading towards that one goal that you set out in the beginning. So coming up 7 minutes to go, I think that's all I really wanted to say. Everyone has nailed this whole concept of leadership so beautifully. It's about being bold enough to simply believe that everything you have to say is worth saying. And I say this all the time. You only need to inspire one person every single day, either with your videos, with your blog posts, with some private communication, and you have lived your day on purpose. If you can inspire one person with something you've chosen to say, and that inspiration comes from speaking your vision. It comes from being the most beautiful, authentic version of yourself. And again, that comes from personal development, believing that you have something worthy of saying that other people would need to hear. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope so. So, darlings, this was not going to be my topic, but as everyone covered my points, I'm like, lemmingship, let me really think about that, because you see it, my darlings, you see it in this industry. I mean, I don't really know any other industry where if someone stood up and said, hey guys, we're going to move from Apple and we're going to go to IBM, let's all go. I don't think they would go. Like, I can't think of any other industry where, like, you're working at Mercedes and all the people go, hey, let's go, we'll go over to Ferrari. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen. I can't think of any industry where this happens. So if you want to always prevent yourself from ever falling into that category of lemmingship, lead. Lead. Don't always follow. Find that moment where you plant your flag and say, this is it. I'm here. This is what I'm doing. No one can distract me. I think that's the note I'll end on.
Thank you, E. I'm just amazed at how, if you just want to simplify this down, everyone out there, basically what we've all said in this whole hour is that never think that you can't do it, because you can do it, and just take your vision and make it what you're going after. And if you believe in yourself and you believe in your vision, you will become that leader without even trying, because you will have people coming to you. People will love what you're saying, love what you're talking about, because they can relate to it, and they need it so badly in their life. They need to hear from you. And you know, one of the things we didn't discuss was, but I did hear, I think it was Shirley that mentioned, you know, you don't have to be all puffed up and ordering other people around. That's a boss. That's not a leader. And there's such a huge difference there. And in this environment that we've got here, we are all leaders in our own way. Just because we're not on stage yet, or just because we're not having a hangout yet, or just because we just started doing our blogs, we're leaders. We're leaders. And so we invite you all to join this team, Tilt. I mean, we're getting rid of all the lemmings. I love that. And if you're not tilting, you're wilting. Oh boy, we're getting all kinds of little sayings with us. But please, if you think, I want to be in an environment where I can be a leader, but I don't feel intimidated because there is already some other leaders. We're all leaders here. Every single one of us has our specialty. So please, I'm inviting you to hit the link below, the Let's Get Started link, if you would like to join us. We'd love to have you. Or else get back to the person that invited you to this hangout and go through them. If you can't find that person, or you want to talk to us a little bit more about it, you can hit any one of us up on Facebook, and we'd be more than glad to talk to you. But other than that, I think we're going to close it down tonight. And I hope we've explained the difference between being a leader and being a little rugrat and following. So anyways, you all take care. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place, different topic. But have a great week, and bless you all. Bye now.